Well, US President Donald Trump has doubled down on his claims of a Christian genocide in Nigeria. In a video released by the White House media team last Wednesday, Trump reiterated his stance that Christianity is facing an existential threat and vowed to defend Christians in Nigeria. Let's take a listen.
Existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands and thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. That's a legal definition. When the Christians or any such group is slaughtered, like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide. What horrible numbers. Something has to be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and to report back to me. And I mean, like, immediately. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. It's not only Nigeria, it's all over. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. This is not going to happen. The killing of Christians is not going to happen.
Well, meanwhile, the federal government of Nigeria has accused those it calls foreign lobbyists of fueling the narrative of a Christian genocide in Nigeria. Now, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, stated that government findings point to a network of external actors, particularly in the United States, who are deliberately promoting divisive and misleading portrayals of Nigeria's security challenges. Idris emphasized that while the administration recognizes that insecurity has affected many communities, there is no evidence supporting claims of systemic targeting of any religious group. Well, back to President Trump, who says the United States will not attend the G20 summit in South Africa over claims that white people are being persecuted in the country. Trump said that it was a total disgrace that South Africa is hosting the meeting, where leaders from the world's largest economies will gather in Johannesburg later on this month. Now, South Africa's foreign ministry described the decision by the White House as regrettable, while a spokesman for the foreign ministry, Crispin Theory, said the success of the summit will not rest on one member state. Now, none of the South Africans, political parties that is, claim that there is a genocide in South Africa. Well, from Trump to his former friend and ally Elon Musk, who has won shareholder approval for the largest corporate pay package in history, as investors endorsed his vision of morphing the electrical vehicle maker into an AI and robotics machine. Well, the proposal was approved with over 75% shareholder support. Musk bounded to the stage of the company's annual meeting at its factory in Austin, Texas, accompanied by dancing robots. Musk, already the world's richest person, could get as much as $1 trillion in stock over the next decade, although required payments would take the value down to $878 billion US. Now, the vote is crucial for Tesla's future and its valuation, which hangs on Musk's vision of making vehicles that drive themselves, creating a robotaxi network across the US and selling humanoid robots, even though his far-right political rhetoric has hurt the Tesla brand this year. Well, Democrats swept a trio of races last Tuesday in the first major election since Donald Trump regained the US presidency, elevating a new generation of leaders and giving the beleaguered party a shot in the arm ahead of next year's congressional elections. Well, in New York City, Zohran Mamdani, a 34-year-old Democratic socialist, won the mayoral race, capping a meteoric and unlikely rise from an anonymous state lawmaker to one of the country's most visible Democratic figures. And in Virginia and New Jersey, moderate Democrats Abigail Spanberger, 46 years old she is, and Mickey Sherrill, who's 53, won their elections for governor with commanding leads respectively. Now, the race has also served as a test of differing Democratic campaign playbooks ahead of 2026, with the party locked out of power in Washington and still trying to forge a path out of the political wilderness. Well, for a greater insight into these foreign stories, I'm now being joined here in the studio on This Day Live on Sunday by African and Global Affairs analyst Dr. Victor Okhai. You are most welcome, Dr. Victor. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Well, there is a mammoth of stories happening around the world this week. Yes. Let us start with the biggest one, arguably. US President Donald Trump, he set his sights on Nigeria. Some say that is a result of, lobbying from the United States against Nigeria, pushing the US president to say what he said about Nigeria and double and triple down on it. What are your thoughts on it? Is he correct?
Well, see, this is, you know what they say, what goes around comes around. The memos leading into what we now see were planted by some people, even in the same administration years back, in an attempt to get at the former president. We didn't speak with one voice at the time. It was all about the president, he's not handling the security situation. So those memos are still in the White House. There are photographs to show that we had made this complaint some time ago, and truth is nothing has changed. For me, it's not really about whether it's genocide against Christians. Every life is very, very important, and none is superior to the other, whether it is Christian or Muslim. And so what we should be talking about and what I expected the government to be talking about is, addressing the issue of lives. Every life should matter. Yes, Trump may have said Christian genocide. I think that we should stop majoring on the minor. For me, it's not just about whether it is Christian, but more importantly about the fact that, people are being killed every day. The so-called Islamists that are carrying out these killings also go to mosques, and there are moderate Muslims, and those they consider not Muslim enough, in their own estimation, that they're killing as well. So should it matter that Trump has said it? I think that, from personal opinion, it's not just Trump that should have said this. I think the rest of the world has stood aside and watched Nigeria allow these killings for too long. It's a wake-up call. If anything, I think Trump has done a favor to this government. The reason being that, it's like you put a frog, the experiment, you put a frog in cold water over fire, it starts heating up. The frog doesn't realize what is happening till it's too late, because it just warms up slowly, till the water gets scaldingly hot and begins to, and that's what we're going through here. I don't see any country in the world, any other place other than places like maybe where you have war zones and all that, where 50 people, 100 people, 200 people were massacred at once, and life goes on like nothing has, as usual. That is very, 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 that's not so cool, let me put it that way. And I think it's a wake-up call. And rather than fight Trump or argue with him, government should take responsibility and do something about it. It's about time.
This is it, right? Because I don't think you'll find anybody who thinks that there is no issue when it comes to insecurity in this country.
No, but there are those who pretend, like the proverbial ostrich, that because you bury your head in the sand and you don't see what's going on, that it's not happening. There are those who will tell you straight away that there are no killings anywhere. It's that bad. But that's not true. Sorry for that, interrupting you there. But that's not true. That's not true. This is happening. We see it every day. People are dying every day. We've seen even military generals murdered, killed. We've seen, whole communities wiped out. There are communities in Nigeria today where all the people from those communities are complete refugees in their own land. They can't go back because those territories have been occupied.
Agreed.
We can't pretend otherwise.
This is it.
Yeah.
We can't. And I mean, this is clearly a huge issue.
It is.
And when we are assessing the federal government's response to the United States, what satisfaction can you gain from that? Because I think over the course of this week, we have seen a lot of movement coming from the federal government. First, it was conversations and lines coming out of the presidency. And then we, of course, heard from the president himself. And then we did have the breaking news early on in this week about the federal government, the president compiling his list of ambassadors, because that also reignites another conversation that perhaps we have gotten to this point where we're hearing this rhetoric coming out to the United States because there was no real channels of communication at the middle levels because there hadn't been ambassadors. So we are hearing now that as early as this oncoming week, we would be able, hopefully, to hear some names being put back out there. But looking at the assessment of Nigeria's response, do you think it has been adequate? Or what are your thoughts on how Nigeria has responded to the United States?
Okay, so the question is, did they have to take Trump? Which is why I say Trump has really done us a favor. 2 years down the line, you don't have any voice in the room where important conversations are taking place in the major economies and countries and partners across the world. That is unthinkable. Who does that? Now they're being reactive instead of being proactive. As the administration is settling in, we ought to have the president in every country in the world represented by the ambassadors. We don't have that. That's not... I don't want to use certain terms here, so it's not looked at like a personal thing, but that's not so cool. That's not right at all, So now they're being reactive. Now you have to have an ambassador, whereas this could have been nipped in the bud. We could have had someone speaking and arguing on our behalf. Now we're thinking about, rejigging the architecture, if you like, the security architecture and all that. What I think that the government should have done is, one, take responsibility. Yes, it's happening. Because it's not a live one is aware. Even the blind and the deaf know that these killings are taking place. Okay? So take responsibility. Look at what VDM. It took VDM to make the president go to Benue the other day. People around the presidency would have been lying to him and telling him that nothing is happening. He may not even be, I don't know, maybe he is, maybe he's not. But take responsibility. That's the first step. Yes, we're aware that this is happening. These are what we're doing. We might need some help. It presented an opportunity to ask for help. Help in the sense of intelligence, because they can see what's going on. They can tell movements. They have sophisticated equipment to be able to do that. We don't have it. Take responsibility, ask for help. It doesn't have to be direct in military intervention. No, we're a sovereign nation. But use the opportunity to negotiate, to say, okay, we need help in this area. We need help in intelligence, we need equipment, we need whatever else there is, for us to be able to, if there's sincerity, to ask for that help. This is the best opportunity to do that. Rather than argue and say, no, there are no killings, and then continue propaganda and looking for people to come and argue and say, is it true? Are they killing people? And then you find people lying on behalf of government that these deaths are not taking place. We cannot continue to do that. But I'm glad that this has happened because now government is even more alive to its responsibilities to its citizens. It had to take outside intervention. It's never too late to do the right thing. And I think that what has happened right now, we should be thanking, the government should actually be thanking Trump for making us have ambassadors, and those ambassadors should be grateful to Trump for their appointments.
Wow. I wonder if they'll see it that way.
No, they probably would never have gotten appointed.
I doubt it. I mean, I agree. I think many people would agree that, 2 years is ample time for ambassadors to be found. And even before 2 weeks ago, there had been calls for international representation of the president in different embassies because there are going to be issues there.
And the other thing is, these embassies, I'm told, are not adequately funded. It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is an issue that has several layers.
The issue of funding them properly as well.
We hope so.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in as much we're talking about Trump and his eyes on Nigeria, I mean, he's had plenty to focus on domestically as well. His party has taken a thumping when it comes to this resurgence of democratic victories. Zora Mandani, 34 years old, relatively unknown a year ago, has been able to rise to the helm of New York as its next mayor. He is, of course, an African in his background, the first Muslim, the youngest in over a century. He ticks all of these different boxes. What can the people of New York expect from this boost of leadership? You know, because he has been criticized by the establishment as perhaps being a socialist, someone who is talking about all of these excellent plans but doesn't really have the funds or the strategy to implement them. Is this going to be a leadership of a president who has overpromised and unfortunately underdelivered, or can he put his money where his mouth is and deliver the New York that he has promised those people?
No, first we'll have to wait and see. It's too early in the day to make any assumptions. Of course, we would have to. The people of New York have spoken. That's the beauty of democracy. They knew who he was before now. He was already a lawmaker before now. So he was able to speak to the people. You might say that the anti-MAGA sentiment may have contributed to a very large extent, but it doesn't take away the fact that this is quite disruptive. First, look at his age, his antecedents, and where he's coming from. It just tells you that people have had it up to here, and they want to change. And he represents a breath of fresh air. He represents perhaps the new thinking and the new direction of New Yorkers. And New York is a melting pot for American politics, and that's a strong statement coming from there. And the other victories of the Democratic Party's candidates, Democratic Party candidates, is like a foreshadow of, or as we say in the movies, a sign of coming attractions. And so going into the midterm elections next year, I think that this might just be a sign of the trend that might continue unless something drastic happens. But I don't know if that's really going to happen because Trump, as you know, the American Constitution does not allow for a third term, although he says he's not, he's looking into it. Some people are saying he should run for a third term. We
heard those rumblings, we did.
Yes, we'll have to see how that happens. But until then, right now he doesn't have any third term to work towards, so he will just do his Trump thing. Let me put it that way. He will have his supporters, obviously. There are those who like what he's doing, but we'll have to see those in the majority. But if what we are seeing is anything to go by, there have been disruptions. And it does appear that the disruption might turn into something else going into midterm.
Oh, definitely.
Before the main elections in another 3 years or so.
You're right. I mean, and as we say, he's got a lot on his plate domestically. We still got this US shutdown that's ongoing. That's now bleeding out.
I was in Washington the other day for the World Bank Conference, and National Guards were all over the place. No one is disrupting you. No one is interfering with you. But you see that presence all over the place. And then you see it's like a militarization of the American society now, which is like something that never used to be, the case. And but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yes. I mean, still on the topic, I know we'll get to Mr. Tesla and what he's been able to do, Elon Musk. But before we get there, just looking at the United States and its relationship outside of the country, we now have, of course, United States saying that it's not going to participate in this G20 forum, being that it's being hosted by and in South Africa. And it's not the first time we've seen American officials not want to associate with South Africa as its role as a host of the group of these largest economies. So, I mean, on its face, perhaps many people wouldn't be surprised that this is the line coming out of the Trump administration. But it is unfortunate because, again, it does lead the viewing world to think that perhaps President Trump isn't as much a garner of peace as he says he is. If he says he's putting out all of these fires and all of these conflicts all over the world, but in the same time, shooting boats in the Caribbean, threatening military intervention in a third-party country, it does seem as though his policies are all over the place somehow. It's hard to really stick to what he's trying to do.
No.
So talking about let me just put this to you. Being that he has said this about South Africa, is there a method to this madness? I ask because if he's saying to South Africa, white people are being persecuted, we're going to bring refugees. Not only are we going to reduce the amount of refugees we're going to take in general, but those that we will take, they will be, the majority of them will be white South Africans, because we believe they're being persecuted by black-led South Africa. Is that going to translate into domestic support for him? Likewise with what he's been saying about Nigeria, they're persecuting Christians, they're killing Christians. We are going to do this. Nigeria better respond. The government better act. Otherwise, we are going to do this. Are these parts of his strategy to garner support for his own base come midterm elections?
What you said, your last statement just sums it up. Trump has been consistent. He has never changed. And he doesn't pretend to be anything else. When he says, make America great again, Trump's America is white, conservative, Christian. Okay? And emphasis on all of them. If you have all three, then you're Trump. Let me put it that way. Okay. So, and then if you drop off, so in the pecking order, white, conservative,
male.
Yes, male.
What is that?
Christian, exactly. So he's been consistent, and so anything against that. When he says "Make America Great Again," he's also not pretending about being anything else. He's consistent. So, and who's America? The white, conservative. Now you've added male, Christian. That's what America is for him. There are Americans or people in America who are being deported, people who are being picked up by ICE and all of that. If you check very well, they're not, again, white, conservative, Christian, male Americans. So he's consistent. Trump has never, read his lips, he has never been any different from what he has said. And it's the reason, in a way, you have to respect him for for saying what he means and meaning what he says. Yeah. So to that extent, what does South Africa represent for him? First, for him, South Africans are, with their land reforms, okay, and it was surprised that there are about 140-something laws, against, towards in this direction that are working against these blacks. I mean, the whites and the minorities. Yes. So for him, he's a champion of whites, okay, and you're attacking whites who also happen to be Christians in South Africa. What do you expect?
Allegedly
so,
yes.
In what he says about Nigeria, the word Christian falls into that as well. So Trump has been consistent. So for what is happening with the G20, for him, he's making no pretenses. It's America first. You remember, South Africa is part of the G20, but also you remember that although Russia, where you had the G8, has been expelled and all that, but anything China, anything Russia, and South Africa is like a champion. Don't forget what they did. They may not come and say what they did with the international court against taking Israel. Successfully. Putting the best of their lawyers, taking them to the International World Court, Israel to International World Court, and securing judgments. That was like poking a finger, and Israel, is like, how do I put it? Is America in the, how do I put it in the diaspora, so to say. So that's what it is. So the South Africans obviously they have been very bold, daring, if you like. I think that's the right language. They've been daring, and America doesn't like that, And so Trump is saying, why should I honor your hosting this meeting with my presence? Because obviously, if Trump were to be there, they would feel honored and all that. So,
well, I guess
yeah,
so. They're
so
inside,
it's denied them the pleasure of that. And, very important decisions that could have been taken may not be taken. So
indeed. Well,
it is what it is.
You mentioned that that's what Trump likes. Well, another thing Trump clearly and many Americans like is capitalism. They like money, and we're hearing what is coming out of Tesla there about how Elon Musk is on the cusp of becoming the world's first trillionaire. I mean, is there such a thing as having too much money?
There's never enough There's only enough for our needs, but never enough for our greed. I think that's where the difference is. There's needs, there's greed. I mean, if it's just basic needs, you don't even need up to $100,000 for if you really want to splurge and all that. You can live comfortably well, but we're talking about sums that are mind-boggling.
Is it ethical?
For Trump, for what's his name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk right now, I think it's just a game. He's trying to see how far he can go, and he's pushing the envelope. But also, that could also be his own way of... I think he's someone who easily gets bored, and he needs something to challenge him and keep him pushing, and that would pose a challenge, because it's not going to come on a platter. It's not going to be, it's not going to just get the 1 million trillion.
Yeah.
He negotiated how he got to where he is right
Absolutely.
now. This is not the first time it's happening. So what he simply is doing is, setting milestones, giving himself, targets and milestones, so it's not going to be automatic. If he meets those milestones, it's good for the shareholders. It's good for him. And I think that's like a performance. How do I put it now? It's the incentive is performance related, So it's he gets it if he works for it. So, and that's what he's doing. And after that, he might get bored again. He needs more challenges, and that's what he's doing. And I think the shareholders understand that. Elon Musk is Tesla, and Tesla is Elon Musk. Take him out. It's like what happened with Steve Jobs and Apple. He got kicked out when he tried to get someone to run the business side, and then that one became too much of a businessman and too powerful, and had him kicked out. But then again, they realized that he's a visionary, and that's what you can take from a visionary. He's able to see what no one can see. He's able to innovate. He's able to drive, and motivate the employees to get to levels that they never would ordinarily have gotten to, and you have to give it to him.
We'll give him. I don't know if we need to give him anything. It seems like he's got more than enough. Well.